Welcome to the Michigan Golfer Show with our host, Bill Shelton. Join us each week as we explore the courses, the people, and the events that shape our great game.
Welcome to this edition of the Michigan Golfer, and this is indeed a special edition. One of the most famous names in golf course design, Robert Trent Jones. Before his death last year at age 93, Mr. Jones designed or remodeled more than 500 courses in 45 states and 35 foreign countries. And he also created the putting green at the White House for President Dwight D. Eisenhower. The interview was taped in 1987 at the Treetops course grand opening of the Sylvan Resort in Gaylord, Michigan. Mr. Jones, being on hand for his grand opening, is interviewed by three very important people in the world of golf. Noted golf writer Jack Berry, former editor of the Michigan Golfer Terry Moore, and golf professional and teaching guru Rick Smith. Tom Durant was the cameraman and Art McCafferty was the producer. In this segment, Jones talks about his entrance into the world of golf design and his opinion on the international state of golf. I think you're going to enjoy this. Let's watch.
Knowing that you first were a partner with the golf course architect Stanley Thompson, what are your memories of the first course that you designed?
Well, I got out of Cornell in 1930, and I did 2 or 3 courses in the Rochester area. And even though I did 2 or 3 courses and had a contract for 2 or 3 courses, they all went broke. And I was owed about $100,000, and I couldn't collect a nickel, and every day I'd get a summons for $20 for something. So it was kind of tough going coming out of Cornell in those times. But I went to the city of Rochester, and they had the green superintendent build a golf course with WPA labor, and it was horrible because he never played golf in his life. So I went in to see the director of parks and told him he'd built this golf course, but it really wasn't very good, and he ought to do it properly, and he kicked me out of his office. So I had a friend who was managing editor of the Journal American, and I played golf and taught him to play golf. So I went to him and told him what had happened. He says, "Look, you give some editorials to Kelly. He's a sports editor, and we run them." So next week I had a blast at the park department through Kelly, and a week later another blast came, and he called me into his office. He said, how do I get this paper off my neck? So I said, well, let's do it right. So then he said to me, well, you know, we can't pay you very much because the city council wouldn't pass any size fee for you. And I said, well, how much would you pay me? He says, $1,500. And I said, you know, I can't live a year on $1,500. But let me ask you, could you buy grass with the WPA funds? He said, yes. I said, okay, you just bought $8,000 worth of grass. So we finished the course, and it turned out to be a big success, and that was the first course I did outside of Cornell.
We'll be back with our exclusive interview with Robert Trent Jones in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Legends beckon me to follow in their steps through historic stands of towering pines among shimmering banks of heather. Visit www.michigan.org for information about Michigan golf packages and courses. Legends beckon me to play forever, and I follow them to Michigan.
Trent, golf is an international game. Came to the United States from Great Britain, but it seems like we've exported more golf and architects than anyone else, and you were the first. How did you get into that?
It's bursting out all over the world. France, for example, never had only 100 golf courses until this year, and I used to say that 2 things never crossed the English Channel. Golf never crossed the English Channel toward France, and good food never went the other way. See, now both things are changing. But they probably built 50, 75 courses this year in France. They're not good courses because the French, being self-centered, insist that they be French architects, and they don't know what to do, you see. So there'll be a lot of remodeling to do. And but anyway, all of Europe, I had a call to go to Turkey. I'm not going to Turkey, but I had a call to go to Turkey. But the world is really getting golf minded, and you see what's happened in international golf with the great players that are now coming out, and it has an influence. Lander has an influence on German golf. Well, he had a tough time getting golf courses built in Germany. It was a socialist country, and they'd say, well, you can build 20 football fields where you can build one golf course, you know. And they wouldn't let us take down trees. So Langer has changed that. I mean, they become more or less proud of Langer, and like they have of the tennis player, you know.
Boris Becker.
Boris
What
Becker.
about in Spain? You were one of the first architects, international architects
Yeah.
in Spain, Soto Grande.
That's right.
And now Ballesteros is out of Spain and has captured the world. But tell us a little bit about some of the other places that you've been.
Well, the Ballesteros era has been great for Spain, because not only Ballesteros, but they have a lot of good professionals in Spain now coming up. And it's great for golf, because England was the only country that played golf, I mean, the British Empire. And now all the other countries are going for it.
What part does an architect play in building that interest?
Well, we don't play any part other than the fact that a client asks us to go and build it, and then it starts from where it started here. The interest starts when the course is built. And not only that, you know, one of the reasons for this was tourism. I mean, when we built courses in Spain, it made it possible for the British to play golf in the wintertime, like we go to Florida. And that's been a big thing. We really feel that we're on our way all over the world.
Influenced you as an architect?
Well, I think two or three people: Donald Ross, Dr. McKenzie. I played golf with Dr. McKenzie at that period, and Tillinghast. I think probably those are the three people that But more than anyone else, I felt that all those people took the elements of their success from the linksland, the flow of the dunes and the linksland, and that's where I felt I copied more the influence of the linksland, because in that area you can get more variety and more natural golf holes. Like we built the course of Ballybunion. I must have had 75 natural golf holes to pick from on the golf course, and it's the flow that nature puts into the pockets it makes, and the flow from the wind and the sand moving that creates what are great green sites.
You talked about earlier. You talked about the foreground and how a green sits, and foreground and the background. What is the artistry of building a golf hole?
Well, it's our artistry of art itself. What makes a good painting? Composition. I mean, the balance. You take, when I look and sketch a golf green, if I'm going to have a trap over here, how do I bounce it off? With a trap on the other side, or a mound, and the contours in the background. That's the greatest thing that has helped me. At Cornell, I took art to sketch green sites, and the green sites I give to my staff, and they can stake it out, and then they can start shaping it. They know what they're doing because they've got a mental picture.
Old golf courses didn't have much water. New golf courses do. Why is that?
Well, I think probably I'm responsible to some extent. I came to the conclusion that the trap shot had become ineffective because they knocked it so close to move down in one putt. And I felt that therefore they should have water, which was the ultimate penalty. And I remember when I built the Atlanta Athletic Club, Bob Jones, I'd done this course at Peachtree with Bobby Jones. And he says, Trent, you know, a little water is all right, but too much is not good. And he says it's like an automobile accident compared to an airplane accident. He said, in an automobile accident you might survive, but in an airplane accident you don't survive. So we had four water holes, a short hole, a driving a pitch hole, and a par 5. And so I really think that I had more influence on the use of water because it was the ultimate penalty.
The average golfer in the United States, I think, averages 100 for 18. And you're known for your championship test of golf. Do you account for the average golfer in your designing? And how do you do that?
Well, I've done more for the average golfer because I worry about the average golfer. And how we do it is this. We take we got 4 sets of tees, so he hits the ball 180 yards. Well, in that area, we make the fairways wider. And then if it's a long hole and he has to hit a second shot before he hits his third shot to green, we do the same thing in his secondary area. Then he pitches on the green and takes 2 putts and he'll get his 5. I feel that the average golfer should have a chance to make a bogey. And if he's lucky, he makes 1 putt, he makes par. So conversely, for the good player, his area, 250 yards plus, we tighten it up. And he's got to make a great shot or he's in a trap or a creek or something. And if he, at the green, if we have a green design with tight pin positions and easy pin positions, we'll put it in the tight position. And he misses that, he takes a 5. So we adjust it that way.
We'll be back with our exclusive interview with Robert Trent Jones in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Legends beckon me to follow in their steps through historic stands of towering pines among shimmering banks of heather. Visit www.michigan.org for information about Michigan golf packages and courses. Legends beckon me to play forever, and I follow them to Michigan.
Nowadays, it seems a number of professional golfers are also in the golf course design business. What's your opinion of that, and how has that affected golf course architecture?
Well, you know, this has been going on for a long time. I have a manuscript that Dr. McKenzie's wife sent me in the 30s to try to get published, and we couldn't get it published because everybody broke. And he has a chapter in there about that very same thing. That's 50 years ago, about the golf professionals in England are not good architects, and they shouldn't be allowed to, or they shouldn't do the golf courses. I don't think that is totally true. I think if the man has some talent, he's a professional, he has talent. And if he builds a good course, that's recommendation enough that he should continue to do more courses. But it's like anything. Just because a man builds a golf course, and it isn't a good golf course, there's no reason why he should build more unless he's doing it because somebody doesn't have money or it's for another reason.
The last few years, northern Michigan certainly has seen a tremendous golf boom, including the spectacular course here at Treetops. But in a way, you started it all off at Boyne Highlands 20 years ago.
Right.
Did you have a sense then of what northern Michigan could mean towards golf and what it can mean for a golf course architect?
Well, you see, I couldn't believe that Everett Kirshner was not only won a golf course, but he had a ski resort. Now, the hills of northern Michigan are not like those in Denver, you know, and the fact that people were coming up here in droves and he had hotels filled in the wintertime fascinated me. So he was the one that really promoted golf as well as skiing in northern Michigan. And of course, I just come out in New York where we had 95-degree temperature. Where you get up here at 70, it's beautiful. Northern Michigan is not only beautiful, but at this time of the year, the climate is just great.
Is the climate then the primary reason why people have said that Michigan for turf grass is just an ideal locale for building and maintaining a golf course?
We don't have any trouble growing grass in anywhere. Now, different type grass maybe, but it's not that Michigan only has great grass. It's you're developing grass to the climate, and you get northern grasses and southern grasses, and this is a good northern grass area.
Would you want to ask a few questions relative to the Treetops?
Yes, Mr. Jones. Just from being here for over a year and a half now and watching this golf course develop into what I would consider one of the greatest courses I've ever seen, you've created a lot of variety, and one of the things I'd like to talk to you about are your par fives and your strategies. What are you thinking about when you're designing a par five? Your par fives are known to be very strong. What are you trying? What is your philosophy there?
Well, it's related to the shot value of the pro and how to, you see, in all golf, the history of golf, the pro attacks and the architect defends. And you go back to the feather ball, the gutty ball, the first rubber ball, and you have to defend based on the strategy of the attack. And so you have to know how far he hits, and you have to try to divert it. In other words, you can't go, even the old course of St. Andrews, Scotland, has been natural for defending the attack because it had all these little pot bunkers. And as the ball changed, there'll be another pot bunker, not the same bunker, that would be defending that hole where the player would get in it. So, in developing strategy, we have to try to develop something that converts the golfer to think what he's got to do. And when we make a green, we design a green and we put the different pins on the green, and then we do something to defend that pin position. Maybe water, maybe a little pocket in the green, maybe a slope. All these things come into effect for confusing the golfer.
I think one of the key things here at Treetops, you notice number 1 and number 5 is par 5s. Number 1 being a long drive over a ravine, and then your second shot, if you feel aggressive, is to go ahead and go for the green. The only problem is if you hit it a little bit crooked, you're very, very penalized. And I noticed that it's great for the player. A player standpoint, it's a real challenge right off the bat. Number 5, you create it's very rolling, very undulated. The player hits a tee shot, and then he's faced with again an option. Do I go for the green? Do I lay it up? If he lays it up, he's forced to hit to a flat area. I noticed. What do you think about that as far as the undulations and the rolling terrain?
Well, I think that's part of the art of defending the hole. I think number 1 here is one of the great first holes in golf, and it's a 5 because the average golfer can reach it in 3, but the pro can reach it in 2. But he's got got to be real 2 great shots because the angle of the green against the water, and the undulation of the green, and if he makes it, he's made 2 superb shots and deserves it. There again, and that makes it exciting. It isn't a pushover.
We'll be back with our exclusive interview with Robert Trent Jones in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Legends beckon me to follow in their steps through historic stands of towering pines, among shimmering banks of heather. Visit www.michigan.org for information about Michigan golf packages and courses. Legends beckon me to play forever, and I follow them to Michigan.
What do you
Trent,
think?
you've been, I think as it matures, it certainly will. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous golf course. And you've been so associated with Michigan. We were talking a little bit earlier that even when you were in New York, you kind of became associated with Michigan, and meeting Walter Hagen, who became one of the great heroes here, was the pro at Oakland Hills, and then spent his retirement years naturally in northern Michigan, not too far from here.
Well, I became a very close friend of Al Watrous, who I think was one of the great Michigan pros. And he used to walk with me at Oakland Hills where we modeled at, and he'd hit shots. He'd take a golf club and hit shots anytime. He probably hits more shots than anybody in the world. And I was very fond of Al Watrous, and he was very excited about Oakland Hills. So we have a great association between Hagen and Watrous in Michigan. Have been 2 great pros that I've had a great relationship with.
Now, you caddied for Hagen, right? As a young boy. Tell us about that. How did that happen?
Well, I decided you could make a lot of money as a caddy if you went to Country Club of Rochester, because that was the richest course in the area. George Eastman belonged there, and all the big money people. You could make 25 cents a round. to caddy. So I went up the first time. I had to go by trolley car from East Rochester to stop 6 and get off and walk about a mile. As a matter of fact, I used to run that mile, and I think that's what was good for my longevity. Anyway, I was walking up this road that separated two segments of the Country Club of Rochester, and Hagen comes in a white Packard race car. And you know, he was a handsome guy. He had bronze, tanned color and black hair, and boy, that was a thrill. And that was my first approach to caddying whatsoever. Anyway, I got the job, and I caddied there for a while, and then I bought a club for 50 cents, a mid-iron, in the pro shop. And that's how I learned to play golf, with that mid-iron. And I learned to play well enough, so when they had an open championship in Rochester, the Rochester Journal-American, when I was 16 years old, I shot a 75 in the morning and a 69, broke the course record in the afternoon, because I'd learned to play shots effectively with that wood-shafted mid-iron. So when Hagen would come back to Rochester to play exhibition matches with the British, there always was 2 British teams that came over to play exhibition matches, Barney and Ray, Duncan and Mitchell, etc. And I would be there to watch them and sometimes caddy for one of them. And that really indelibly got me into golf in a big way.
On that note, how would you wish to be remembered as a golf course architect and someone who's made so many significant contributions to golf?
I think the best monument I can get when I die is to have about 100 of those monuments to people, because they'll go on for another 50 years at least, where those courses will be there. Like the Ballybunion course, they'll never change that course. And they'll always have a picture in the clubhouse that I did the golf course. I think that's a great way to go down, as good as I want.
Before his death last year at the age of 93, certainly he impacted the lives of golfers all over the world with his course designs and remodeling. And even though he's gone, his influence and impact on golf will be felt for centuries ahead. Next time you play Point of Woods in Benton Harbor, the Heather course at Boynton Highland, or Treetops at the Sylvan Resort, or any of the other 500 courses that were designed to remodel by Robert Trent Jones, think about his legacy to this great game we all enjoy so much. Thanks for watching this edition of the Michigan Golfer.